Maybe we'll find our light in the warmth of other suns, in the warmth of other suns.
So I'm seeing the political structure in the landscape of San Francisco from a different lens. Mm-hmm. I'm seeing the hardship of brothers coming out of prison and not having anybody that they can go to get a first job. Mm-hmm. I'm seeing myself come back out of college and being imbued with this information and being charged with the challenge from our Morehouse, the administrators. Like, when you go back home, go get active in your community. Yeah. Make sure you do something that adds some value to the people that are around you. Don't just act like you don't see the problems or you don't have any ability to affect change. Yeah. So with my music, it found purpose in creating change, not to become a part of whatever was going just because you could possibly get paid. Mm-hmm. So when I write a song, it's looking at a social construct that it wants to help dismantle. I'll take, mother, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys. I know the song from just American popular culture. Mm-hmm. I couldn't sing any more of it than that. Mm-hmm. But when I hear a certain bass line that Pascal plays on his keyboard, I hear, mama, don't let your baby grow up to be a gangster. Yeah. And I go on to tell my story.
Sure.
You know, Look around, take a look around, and baby, tell me what you see. Yeah. Ain't no love, ain't no trust amongst us in our own community. Now, it's gangbanging, it's fist fights, it's turning up the club, it's people in business of entertainment who are not able to really have a successful career in the entertainment business because of some of the same activity that's promoted in the rap song. Mm. So I'm going to exist more or less as an antithesis to that, you know, because I don't see that as the bottom line guttural truth. I see that as more like a hype. Mm-hmm. Because the truth of the matter is you've just limited opportunities for hella more people that's coming behind you. They'll never get a chance to perform at that club. Yeah. You done fucked it off. Yeah. So who's going to address that? Mm-hmm. And how is it going to be done in a way that I think is cogent, that is impactful, that is honest and authentic? Mm-hmm. And nobody was there. Mm-hmm. So that's, again, what the purpose of Rebel Soul Records, you know, was created for, to give a voice to those things that were more or less silenced. Yeah, so we wanted to have our own entertainment company. Sure. We wanted to come from San Francisco and put something out into the world that was going to be hot, accessible. We didn't want LA to be the thing that you had to do. You got to go to LA. Because in the Bay Area, there's always been the independent spirit. There's always been Too Short. Yeah. There's always been Tommy and Denny, who was putting out or working with the Tonys, putting out In Vogue. Yep. They had Alien Records. You know, there's just a spirit of independence out here.
Yeah, very much so.
So we were just tying in on that. And all of this stuff informs me because I know that I have a voice and I have a purpose and I have something that I want to do that's a dream, but I don't know what it is. So the safer route is to just go to college, get an education. The backup safety route to that is to remain in the background and learn the business and write or create for others. Yeah. Versus saying it's not about none of y'all, it's about me and my idea, and this is how it goes, who's with me. Right. And that took a long time because there was a lot that I still didn't know. The sound of music that I wanted to make had a lot to do with the guitar.
Yeah. And so that led to the release of your first solo album, The Calling.
The Calling.
Right.
Came out in 1999.
Yeah. And did you self-release that as well, right? Yeah. On Rebel Soul?
That was on Beyond Entertainment at the time.
I see. Okay.
And Beyond Entertainment folded into Rebel Soul Records because I went from a transition of being an independent artist to now I have a record deal. And I signed with Good Vibe in Los Angeles. And Good Vibe ended up losing their distribution deal. And this would have been the first of 2 record deals that for some reason it all just goes to hell. And now you put this energy and this effort into something and there's no real, result.
Yeah. And that's part and parcel to the discussion we're having here today is to help spread your experience out there for people to hear and grow from, because what you've experienced and the knowledge you have is clearly, it's invaluable. And, it's hopefully through these kinds of discussions that people can grow and understand the importance of, like what you just said, the balance, between what feeds your soul, what feeds your spirit, right, and combining that with your business savvy and awareness to make sure that you don't make the mistakes that, create a soulless experience out of your music career. Right. And so I think you've held true to that in a very beautiful way. And that's led to many incredible experiences along the way and many diverse relationships.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Cody was on his own tour. Badu was out there working. The Roots are always working. The three of them got together for a tour, Smoking Grooves or one of those kind of names.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm down at Texas going to my grandmother's funeral, and I just happened to see that the Roots are in town. Cody Chesnutt's on the bill, Erykah Badu. So I hit him up like, yo, I'm trying to come through. Mm-hmm. Cool, I got you. Mm-hmm. So I go check out the show, and it's great. And at the same time, Good Vibe, what I was signed to, they wanted me to go to New York to just have a meeting with the guy that was considering bringing me on in the Sony, record system. Mm-hmm. It was just an early conversation, a meet and greet, do a showcase, this kind of a thing.
Sure.
And so I asked Cody if I could get on his bus and ride up with them through Texas, New Orleans, Philadelphia, New York, that kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. I get to New York, and by the time I get there at the end of the week, the guy from Sony has been fired.
Oh, yeah. Gotta love it. Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, all right, I'm about to go back to California because the tour had ended in New York. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to just ride the bus back to Cali. Mm-hmm. We're just having a good time, writing songs, experiencing the road life and all this kind of thing. And Cody's tour manager, Anna Robbins, she was in touch with Amir, and he was having guitarist auditions because Ben Kinney had left the group to go over to Incubus.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
Great opportunity for him.
Of course, yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, that left a vacuum in their situation, and they were trying to fill it. So she just, cleverly said, hey, I know somebody that wants to audition for guitar, and told Quest that I was interested, and he invited me over to audition. And they offered me the job for a week, pretty much. They were doing a tour over in Europe, and they needed somebody to come fill in a spot. And at the same time, they were also hiring Kirk Douglas, who became their go-to Captain Kirk signature Gibson guitar wielding guitar player. Mm-hmm. And at that same time, Vernon Reid from Living Color decided that he was going to be available for a week. Cody Chesnutt had a hit song with the Roots. Kirk was on stage, and me. Mm-hmm. So we had a 4, hard-hitting hardwood guitar army with the Roots hip-hop sound for the first time. And that was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And then
that was a moment there. That was a moment in time.
That was a moment. We did a few TV show appearances and whatnot, a lot of touring.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot more. I'd done more shows with them in a month than I had pretty much done in my entire career because the Roots are that busy. Mm-hmm. So you have to learn from some of this stuff. For example, one of the first shows I had down in Los Angeles and Hollywood was at a club, and we were feeling good. This is our 3rd or 4th time back down with a certain group, and I happened to start drinking before the show. Mm-hmm. It's what people do. It's rock and roll, right?
Okay, yeah.
Cool. What's not cool...
What were you drinking?
I was drinking Hennessy.
Ah, okay. All right. Yeah.
What's not cool is to cuss out the sound man on stage.
No, not cool.
It's not cool.
No.
What's not cool is to be late for sound check.
Not cool.
And then have the audacity to cuss out the sound man during the show. So how does that really impact someone? Well, he was pissed off, didn't like da-da-da-da-da-da. The show sucked for a lot of reasons. I was one of them. And later on in life, when some opportunities to perform in Los Angeles almost came my way, that same sound man told the people, no, we're not going to have him. He's an asshole. Oh, if he's on the show, I'm not doing it. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah. You hear that, people? Anybody listening out there? You hear that?
Things that you got to go through.
Comes around.
Yeah, Mm-hmm. So when you feel like you got to be that fire breathing dragon, understand that some of those folks that get crisped, they may still be in your future in ways that you just had no idea that they're going to impact.
Yeah, right.
Some of your opportunity or prospect. Mm-hmm. But that was a good one for me to really just take. I reached out to the guy. Mm-hmm. I issued an apology. Mm-hmm. I wasn't trying to get the gig. I was hurt by the fact that my behavior had impacted someone so negatively that they would feel that way about me. And this is years later,
Right.
where I think I've gone through some growth and maturation, right? He didn't want to hear it. He didn't want to have shit to do with it. You know, F him, blah, 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 blah. So I was like, that's fair. You know? And thanks for the lesson, right?
Yeah.
That's what all I can really say about that was thank you.
So just to be clear, you were invited to join the SF Jazz
I was
Collection?
invited to join.
Was that Randall Klein personally
That
inviting
was
you?
a personal invitation.
Yeah.
I would say that comes after having done a few successful shows there. And him looking at the fact that the SF Jazz Collective needs to rebrand. And this will be the first time in 15 years that they're going to add a vocalist to a very sophisticated, heady jazz, supergroup.
Yeah.
And then what do I have being in a jazz supergroup that's playing all kinds of crazy scales and time signatures and keys and all this kind of stuff? I don't do that. I do something else. But what they thought would work was if they also combined a Miles Davis 50th anniversary and a Sly and the Family Stone 50th anniversary homage.
Sly comes back.
Sly comes back. And they're like, can you get in there and knock down Stand? And I'm like, I know the album pretty much front to back. So sure, I could do that. But what I didn't know is that I was going to be in a room with these masterminds who were going to recreate music totally different than how I was familiar with it.
Sure.
So now I have to find a way in to what this guy thinks and then this guy thinks, because every member of the collective is responsible for their own arrangement.
Yeah.
And it didn't mean that they had to consider the vocalist, right? That didn't mean that they didn't consider me, but they're writing stuff way faster than anybody could really humanly just say it.
Well, this goes right back to the very beginning of our conversation and how you reframed, don't let your, boys grow up to be cowboys.
Right.
So you're reframing, here you go again, right?
Right. And seeking to keep some of the authenticity of Sly and all that amazing vocalization.
But with some really badass motherfuckers in the room, huh?
some blazers, man. With me, melody and song starts here. I always hit the E chord. I don't have any of the most dexterity or knowledge of the instrument of the guitar and all that kind of a thing, but I can sound out something. So I'm thinking about it, and then it turns into you go through these A's and B's and C's and G's and whatever. We are aware of your fear and exhausted from having to hide who we are. I'm like, yeah. This is directly from a conversation with Jeff about our exhaustion from all of the death that we have to witness of, let's say, police killing unarmed black men. Or in our own community of, just like in Oakland the other night, some dude gets shot in the head by another black dude in front of his kids. And now the kids and all the people that's playing have to continue to live with this trauma and this pain and this angst. Oh, God. And not to mention the community just it's something that we're constantly, battling from a lot of sides. And so the warmth of other suns does not necessarily denote that there is a white sun that is not feeding us properly. There could be a black sun that has led us into a toxic masculinity behavior that hip hop is only doubling down on. And if you only have heard hip hop songs your entire life, you might not have heard anything that offered you any love or sustainable information. So the other sun is the option. Rebel soul music exists as a label, as an option. That's basically because I wasn't going to have my voice or my thoughts to be compromised by somebody else saying, well, this would be cool, but we need you to take black out. We need you to take that white out. We need you to take anything out that we think is offensive or is going to limit the possible marketability of this idea. That's a business move, and I understand it. Doesn't mean that I'm always going to play by those rules. And if I have anything to do with my own career, then it's going to be by my own rules.
Now, when you took this to the studio, did you play this arrangement for them, just like this? Was this the studio kind of influence that
for the live recording of it?
Yeah, for the live recording of it.
No.
Yeah.
All I did was hire Mina to arrange for this song. All of this stuff that happened in the studio was on her. She's the producer, the co-producer, and the coordinator. And she had a different objective, which was because she liked the music and liked the song, she wanted it to be played in church. And I'm like, well, what kind of church wants to hear anti-white supremacy songs? She's like, well, my pastor is white, and he speaks, against white supremacy every Sunday. So it's nothing new to us as a congregation.
Okay.
I was like, well, that's bold. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'd ever play this at a black church, let alone a white church.
Okay.
And it's, it's not racially a white church. It's just a lot more white folks there than I've ever seen in any churches that I've attended. I'll say it like that.
Okay, sure.
And they're cool. They've invited me back, annually to perform. So there's a relationship there, and there's a respect and appreciation there. As far as I understand, your music can be played all over the internet, especially from domestic companies. And if you don't have those songs registered with the MLC, then there's no way for you to get paid that mechanical licensing royalty. They will shake the black boxes of unknown authors and royalty distribution situations and make sure that you get your share. But if you don't copyright your material, and if you don't register your material, then there's no way for you to get any of it.
Yeah.
And that means that the services can use your songs and you never get paid.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to play that game that way, then it would behoove someone to get their stuff registered.
Much like Sound Exchange for non-interactive playback.
Right. So the code non-interactive playback. That's like Pandora and stuff like that.
Right, internet radio.
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
These rules and these laws that are changing and always being updated, they're a part of the business that was often looked at as very unsexy to my generation.
Yeah.
And the younger generation doesn't seem to be as put off by it. They seem to be able to adopt much faster.
Right.
You would know better than I, but I think that they are, a lot of people are taking care of their business.
Maybe we'll find our light in the warmth of other suns, in the warmth of other suns, in the warmth of other suns. No. Maybe we'll reach our height in the warmth of other suns, in the warmth of other suns, in the warmth of other suns. I know